The night was calm, stars shining softly over the Pacific when a radar operator noticed something unusual. At first he thought it was just another glitch, a spike in the readings that would vanish after a few seconds. But this signal didn't fade. It grew stronger, brighter, more defined. It wasn't coming from Earth, it was coming toward it. Within minutes, the same strange signal appeared across several observatories around the world. The data didn't match any satellite, meteor, or known space object. The energy pattern was too organized, too perfect. Something was moving with purpose. Inside hidden control rooms, the calm broke. Scientists leaned closer to their monitors, whispering to each other in disbelief. Military officers received encrypted messages marked Level Red. Within an hour, every major space agency was awake and watching. The energy reading showed an object larger than anything ever built by human hands. It was far beyond the moon's orbit, but it was moving fast. Too fast to be natural. No public announcement was made. The world went on as usual. People slept peacefully, never knowing that something vast was approaching their home. Governments didn't want chaos. They decided to study the signal quietly, to be absolutely sure before they told anyone. Yet behind closed doors, fear began to spread. Humanity had waited centuries for proof that they weren't alone. Now that proof was coming straight at them. In one of the underground labs, scientists tried every possible explanation. Could it be debris? A rogue asteroid? A glitch in the sensors? But when they plotted its trajectory, everything became clear. It was slowing down. Asteroids don't slow down. This thing had control. Someone or something was steering it. Within 24 hours, the object's signature changed shape on the monitors. It wasn't one solid form anymore. It was breaking into smaller points of light. A fleet. Each point moved in perfect synchronization, turning slightly as if following invisible commands. The Earth's defense network tracked the fleet as it aligned near the edge of the planet's magnetic field. It was like a dark crown forming above the world. Inside the control rooms, the air grew heavy. Every sound, the hum of machines, the tapping of keyboards, the low voices of tired people, felt sharper. The leaders in charge didn't know whether to prepare for contact or war. They reached out with every method known to humans. Radio signals, laser pulses, light codes, even mathematical messages based on universal constants. No reply came. The silence felt like a storm before lightning. By the second night, people around the world began to notice strange things. Amateur astronomers reported bright lines moving across the stars. Pilots saw flickers high above the clouds that didn't match any known flight path. On social media, short clips of glowing shapes appeared briefly before being deleted by official channels. The truth couldn't stay hidden for long. When the fleet reached the outer layer of Earth's atmosphere, the readings went off the charts. Every sensor on every satellite began to flicker. The energy coming from those ships was far beyond anything humans had developed. Power grids in coastal cities fluctuated. The air around radio towers crackled faintly. Whatever these visitors wanted, they were making their presence known. Inside a dark command center, a woman looked at the global map covered in red dots representing the unknown objects. She didn't blink for several seconds. Then she said quietly, "They're testing us." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. Others around her nodded. It wasn't an attack yet, but it wasn't peace either. A hidden global network known as the Aegis Protocol was activated. It was a plan written decades earlier, meant only for a situation like this, a possible alien contact. Only a few people in the world even knew it existed. Massive satellite systems came online. Ocean-based drone carriers began to rise from the depths cloaked in silence. Laser defense platforms adjusted their angles toward the sky. Every military command center switched to blackout communication. If war came, Earth would be ready, or at least as ready as it could be. In the following hours, something strange happened. Despite all the fear, a rare unity spread across the world. Countries that never trusted each other began to share data. Scientists from rival nations spoke as allies. Humanity had always been divided by borders, languages, and flags, but now they all faced one enemy, one unknown. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't fighting itself. It was standing as one planet, one home. The fleet hovered beyond the atmosphere, silent and still. The largest of the ships rotated slowly, releasing a pulse of light that covered half of Earth's orbit. Every satellite camera went white for a moment, blinded by the burst. When systems came back online, new data appeared. massive energy waves scanning the surface of the planet. It wasn't destruction. It was observation. They were scanning Earth, studying it, perhaps deciding whether to continue or retreat. People on the ground began to feel something they couldn't describe. The sky shimmered faintly in certain regions. Birds changed their flight patterns, animals hid underground. The world seemed to hold its breath. News channels started reporting strange atmospheric phenomena, though none dared to say what it truly was. The truth was far bigger than anyone could accept overnight. In an isolated monitoring base near the poles, the crew recorded a strange pattern inside the alien signals. It wasn't random, it was structured, like language. The team tried for hours to decode it, but the symbols made no sense. They weren't words, not music, not mathematics, something entirely new. One researcher finally said what everyone was thinking. They already know us. This isn't their first time seeing Earth. Across the oceans and mountains, the invisible war of nerves continued. Every minute felt like waiting for a verdict from the stars. Would they speak? Would they attack? Or were they testing how humans would react to fear itself? Then on the third night, the fleet moved again. The lights shifted formation, aligning into a massive circular pattern that spanned thousands of kilometers in space. Scientists gasped as the readings changed. The circle began generating an energy field powerful enough to distort radio signals. It was like a doorway forming at the edge of the planet's reach. What lay beyond it was anyone's guess. At that exact moment, in command centers around the world, new orders flashed across the screens. Defense grid active. Do not engage unless fired upon. Humanity was standing on a knife's edge. One mistake, one misunderstanding, could start a war that would decide the fate of the entire species. Despite the tension, a strange calm settled over those who watched. Some stared at the monitors with tears in their eyes, realizing they were witnessing the greatest moment in human history, the moment the galaxy noticed them. Others clenched their fists, determined that no matter what came next, Earth would not bow. The fleet remained silent, almost waiting. The object that had once seemed a distant light was now a ring of unknown power above the world. Every city below it slept beneath its shadow, unaware of how close they stood to either destruction or discovery. As the long night stretched on, a single thought began to spread among the people working in those hidden bases. Maybe the visitors believed humans would be afraid, weak, or unprepared. Maybe they thought Earth was just another planet to study or conquer. But Earth was not just another planet. It was home to a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. A species that always found a way to rise again. The monitors kept flashing, the signal kept humming, and the silence grew louder. The galaxy had finally come knocking on Earth's door. What it didn't know was that the door wouldn't open easily. Humanity was ready to defend its sky, its soil, and its home. That night, as the fleet hovered like a crown of silver ghosts above the blue planet, one thing became clear to those who watched from the shadows. The galaxy thought it could breach Earth's borders. They were wrong. The morning after the signal was confirmed, the world still looked the same. The sun rose gently, people went to work, children laughed in schoolyards, and life seemed normal. Yet hidden beneath the surface, humanity had already changed forever. The leaders of every major nation were awake for over 20 hours. No one dared to rest. The mysterious fleet floating above the planet had not made a move since the night before. But that silence was more terrifying than any attack. It felt like the calm before a storm that no one knew how to stop. Inside underground command centers, sleep-deprived officers stared at screens glowing with red dots, each representing one of the unidentified ships. They hadn't left, hadn't sent a message, hadn't fired a shot. They were just waiting. Some thought it was a show of power. Others believed it was a test, maybe even a warning. The only thing everyone agreed on was that Earth couldn't just sit and hope for peace. It needed to prepare. In a bunker deep beneath the desert, a secret protocol was activated. Aegis Protocol. It was an old plan, built decades earlier when the first whispers of alien life began to circulate. Most thought it was just science fiction, a what-if plan that would never be needed. Yet now that old folder marked for global defense only was opened. It contained detailed steps: raise satellite shields, arm orbital defense grids, reactivate old experimental drones, and link every nation's radar under one global network. From that moment, the quiet preparations began. Teams of engineers worked in hidden bases, typing endlessly, updating defense codes, bringing old systems back to life. In the Pacific Ocean, huge drone carriers rose slowly from beneath the waves, water dripping down their metallic sides. They had been sleeping at the ocean floor for decades, waiting for this exact day. Now they hummed to life, their engines glowing faintly under the water. In the sky, stealth satellites shifted their positions to cover the upper orbit. Even the moon's hidden observatory received silent orders. Stay dark. Stay hidden and watch. Across the world, scientists, engineers, and soldiers from different nations began to work together like never before. Politics disappeared overnight. The old arguments between countries didn't matter anymore. The only line that mattered now was between Earth and the unknown. Rival scientists who once competed for grants were suddenly partners, sharing data, equations, and sleepless nights. Humanity had always been divided by borders, but now everyone realized Earth itself was one single border. As the preparations continued, strange patterns appeared in the alien fleet's movements. The ships shifted slightly every few hours, like pieces of a puzzle rearranging themselves. They seemed to be forming a grid around the planet, not close enough to enter, but near enough to make everyone nervous. Every shift caused a ripple of panic in the control rooms. Was it a sign of attack? Was it communication? Or were they simply showing that they could surround Earth anytime they wanted? The silence felt heavier each hour. Every second of quiet felt like thunder waiting to break. In one of the command centers, a group of young researchers was studying the electromagnetic waves coming from the alien crafts. They found a strange rhythm in the pulses, like a heartbeat. It wasn't random. It had patterns, pauses, and echoes. The realization sent chills through everyone in the room. Whatever was out there wasn't just mechanical. It was alive with intention. Some whispered that maybe the ships themselves were alive. A form of intelligent technology beyond human imagination. Meanwhile, communication lines buzzed quietly with urgent voices from every corner of the planet. All defensive units on standby. Maintain silent mode. Do not provoke. Everyone understood the weight of those words. One wrong signal could mean war, not just on Earth, but in the skies above it. In coastal cities, naval fleets began to disappear under the waves. In mountain valleys, huge radar dishes turned to face the heavens. At night, truck convoys moved through deserted roads, carrying cargo sealed under heavy covers, energy weapons, deep-range sensors, and new AI-controlled systems that had never been tested in real combat. The people outside didn't know. They watched news reports about satellite upgrades or new astronomical activity. Governments hid the truth to avoid panic. But the internet was faster than any official story. Amateur astronomers uploaded blurry pictures of strange glowing dots in the sky. Some said it was a meteor shower. Others claimed it was an invasion. Rumors spread faster than any light beam. The world was quietly holding its breath. By the third day, the alien fleet's signals had become stronger. Earth's radar systems picked up constant bursts of data. It wasn't an attack, it was scanning. The ships were analyzing the planet, sending invisible waves through oceans, forests, and cities. The readings showed the scans were so deep that even underground structures were being mapped. Every bunker, every base, every weapon, nothing was hidden anymore. Humanity was being studied like insects under a magnifying glass. The scientists in charge began to notice another frightening detail. The ships weren't all the same. Some were small and moved quickly, almost like scouts. Others were massive, each one larger than a city. One ship in particular caught everyone's attention. It stayed motionless at the edge of the planet's shadow, facing directly toward Earth, as if watching. Inside the main control hub, the atmosphere grew tense. There were no speeches, no loud orders, just quiet voices typing, and the sound of people breathing too quickly. The command leader finally said in a calm tone, "From this moment, we treat this as contact. Defensive only. We will not strike first," no one argued. They all understood that humanity's survival depended on discipline, not fear. While the military prepared for the worst, another group worked in silence. Scientists trying to make contact. They sent sequences of numbers, light pulses, coded patterns, everything they could think of that might show intelligence. For a brief moment, one of the alien ships flickered with a strange light, almost like a reply. The scientists froze. Then it went dark again. The signal stopped completely. Whatever that moment was, it was gone. Hours later, something unexpected happened. The global power grid flickered. Satellite feeds blinked out for a few seconds and then came back. The fleet had released a wave of unknown energy that circled the planet once before vanishing into space. It didn't damage anything, but it sent a message, a demonstration. They could touch Earth systems anytime they wanted. The message was silent but clear. We see you. Despite the tension, there were moments of quiet courage. In the control rooms, people worked side by side without rest. Some hadn't eaten in 2 days, some barely spoke, but no one left their post. Everyone knew that history was unfolding in front of them. Every small movement on their screens could mean the difference between peace and extinction. By nightfall, something changed in the air, an energy that no one could explain. The sky over the northern hemisphere shimmered faintly with colors like those of the aurora, but brighter and pulsing in rhythm. People who stepped outside to look felt the ground vibrate softly beneath their feet. The fleet above was creating a field of energy around the planet, something powerful enough to bend electromagnetic waves. Cameras on satellites began to malfunction, showing only static. Earth was being surrounded by something invisible, something not made by human hands. Still, no attack came. The alien ships remained silent, holding their positions like silent watchers of an ancient ritual. It was as if they were giving Earth time to respond, to react, to prove something. In the deep control center, a tired operator whispered, "Maybe they're waiting to see what kind of world we are." No one replied, but the thought lingered in the room like smoke. Were the visitors testing Earth's strength or its heart? As hours passed, the world below remained unaware of how close it stood to its greatest test. Families laughed over dinner. People scrolled through their phones, unaware that far above them, humanity's fate was being weighed by eyes that did not belong to this world. The ships continued their silent dance in orbit, their lights flickering like distant stars. On the screens inside Earth's Defense Command, the readings finally stabilized. For the first time in days, there was no movement, no energy spike. The fleet had stopped. Maybe it was waiting. Maybe it was thinking. Or maybe it was preparing for something no human could predict. The leaders of Earth knew one thing for sure. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be a mistake they could fix. The smallest error could ignite the first war between species. Every radar, every missile system, every satellite waited in total silence. The galaxy had drawn its line. Now, Earth stood on its own, ready, unbroken, and unafraid. The third night was colder than usual. Across the world, the sky looked the same, but people who were watching closely could feel something different. The stars seemed dimmer, and the air had a strange stillness, as if nature itself was waiting for something to happen. In secret bases and control rooms buried deep underground, screens glowed with red and green lights, showing the movement of the alien fleet above Earth. For nearly 3 days, those ships had done nothing. No attack, no communication, no sound. They just stayed in orbit, circling silently as if they were deciding what to do. Some scientists thought they were trying to understand human defense systems. Others believed they were observing human behavior, seeing how the planet would react under fear. But no one knew for sure. All they could do was watch and prepare. Inside the Global Defense Center, tension filled every corner. The large holographic display showed the alien ships hovering near the edge of the atmosphere. They were positioned perfectly around the planet, like hunters surrounding prey. The officers watching the screens barely spoke. They didn't need to. Everyone already understood how serious it was. At 0217 UTC, one of the ships broke formation. Slowly, it moved closer to Earth's orbit, lowering its altitude with smooth precision. Alarms went off instantly. Every radar system on the planet locked onto that single object. The air in the control rooms became heavy. This was the first real movement in days, and no one knew what it meant. Was it an attack? A signal or just a test? The ship stopped just above the upper edge of the atmosphere where space met the sky. Then it released something, an enormous wave of light. The pulse spread across half the planet in seconds. It wasn't an explosion or a weapon. It was like a flash of pure energy, bright enough to be seen even from the ground. People in remote villages and crowded cities looked up at the sky, thinking it was some kind of aurora or strange natural event. Cameras everywhere captured it, and the internet filled with questions no one could answer. Inside the control centers, data poured in. Every satellite recorded the same readings. The pulse was scanning Earth. It was mapping the surface, oceans, and atmosphere. The energy wave bounced off mountains, cities, and even underground bunkers. Nothing was hidden from it. It was as if the visitors were taking an X-ray of the entire planet. The scan lasted only 5 minutes, but in those 5 minutes, every system on Earth flickered. Power grids went down for a few seconds. Radio stations went silent, and navigation systems lost connection. When the pulse ended, everything came back to normal, but the silence that followed felt much louder than before. The scientists were stunned. They had seen advanced technology before, but nothing like this. The energy reading was far beyond anything humans had ever produced. It was clean, stable, and unbelievably powerful. "It's not meant to destroy," one researcher whispered. "It's meant to understand." Despite the calm that followed, the people in charge knew this wasn't a peaceful gesture. If the ships could scan the planet so easily, they could probably do much more. Every defense system on Earth went on full alert. Fighter jets flew to higher altitudes. Orbital drones began to move into combat formations, and the massive defense satellites charged their weapons quietly in the dark. For the first time, humans realized they weren't just being watched, they were being studied. Hours passed, and then something even stranger happened. A series of bright dots appeared around the largest ship. They moved like smaller drones or probes, leaving trails of light as they descended closer to the atmosphere. Some entered the clouds, disappearing for minutes before returning to space. The whole world was being examined from every angle. Meanwhile, communication centers tried one last time to reach them. Powerful transmitters sent signals in every language, frequency, and pattern. They sent simple images, mathematical symbols, and recordings of Earth's natural sounds: rain, waves, and birdsong. Every signal vanished into the void. There was still no reply. People began to lose hope that the visitors would ever speak. Some believed they didn't care. Others feared they couldn't hear. A few started to think something even more unsettling. Maybe the ships weren't being controlled at all. Maybe they were self-aware, machines acting on their own. As the world watched, one of the alien drones made a sudden move. It released a beam of light that struck the ocean surface far below. It wasn't an attack, it was a scan. But the energy from that beam created a massive wave that traveled across the sea. Ships in the area were tossed by the sudden force, and coastal sensors went offline for several minutes. When the wave settled, the water was calm again. There was no destruction, but there was a message in that act. They could touch the Earth whenever they wanted. Inside the main control hub, the tension was unbearable. Every system was ready for engagement, but the order never came. The human commanders knew that firing the first shot could lead to disaster. The aliens were more powerful, and any mistake could wipe out entire cities. Humanity had to be patient, still the fear grew. The fleet's movements became more complex. The ships began forming strange shapes, glowing faintly against the black of space. Satellites captured images that no one could fully explain. Geometric patterns like symbols drawn in light. They stretched across the orbit like ancient runes, spinning slowly, forming what looked like a ring. The meaning was unknown, but scientists agreed it wasn't random. It was communication, but not in any human form. People on the ground started noticing something new. The night sky had a faint silver haze that wasn't there before. It wasn't pollution or clouds, it was the reflection of the alien ship's energy field. Farmers, pilots, and fishermen across the globe began talking about the silent lights. Some feared them, others admired them, but no one could deny that the world had changed. For the next 2 days, the alien ring remained above Earth, unmoving. The energy around it pulsed softly, almost like breathing. Then suddenly it sent another pulse, a sharper, faster one than before. The burst hit Earth's upper atmosphere and bounced back, creating ripples of light. The ground shook in some areas, and strange sounds echoed through the sky like low, distant thunder. Every radar in the world went black for 20 seconds. When they came back, new readings appeared. The fleet had moved closer, much closer. It was now hovering directly above the planet's boundary, where gravity and vacuum met. The alien ships were officially inside Earth's border. That was the moment when every defense system went live. The orbital drones switched to combat mode. Energy shields began powering up, covering key regions of the planet. Military stations around the world received the same order. Hold your fire until confirmed hostile, but prepare for engagement. In the command room, no one spoke. The silence was thicker than ever. On the main screen, the ships looked like small glowing dots, but everyone knew they were enormous, far beyond human engineering. The room lights dimmed as systems drew extra power. One person whispered softly, "If this is a test, we're already inside it." Then, without warning, the alien ships released another pulse. This time it wasn't a scan, it was sound. A deep rumbling tone vibrated through the Earth's magnetic field. Every radio, phone, and speaker on the planet caught it. The sound was low, almost musical, but haunting. People everywhere heard it in their homes, cars, and streets. It lasted just 1 minute, but it left everyone shaken. Scientists later analyzed the tone and found repeating patterns inside it, almost like a code. It wasn't random noise. It was structured, intelligent. The world's best linguists and mathematicians began decoding it, and after long hours of analysis, they found something unbelievable. The pattern matched an ancient frequency recorded decades ago from deep space, the same kind of signal that had first made scientists suspect intelligent life existed beyond Earth. It was proof that the visitors had been watching for a very long time. By dawn, the message was clear to those who understood it. The aliens hadn't just discovered Earth, they already knew it. They had been observing for years, maybe centuries, waiting for the right time to step forward. Now they had arrived, not with peace or war, but with silence. A silence filled with power. Across the world, as the sun rose over cities and seas, humanity felt both fear and pride. They didn't know what was coming, but one thing was certain: Earth would not back down. The sky might belong to the galaxy, but the ground belonged to humanity. The fleet hovered, waiting. Humanity watched, ready. The first contact had begun. The fourth night arrived with an uneasy quiet. The alien fleet still hung in the sky like a crown of light around the planet. The strange patterns they had formed now pulsed slowly, glowing like giant symbols floating above Earth. The air had changed too. Birds didn't sing at dawn, and animals behaved as if they could sense something humans could not. Across cities, people stayed awake, glued to their screens, staring at the mysterious lights. The whole world was awake together, bound by fear and curiosity. Inside the underground control centers, the tension had reached its limit. For days, humanity had waited, uncertain if the visitors were peaceful explorers or silent conquerors. The Global Defense Command was ready for any outcome. Hundreds of satellites floated in position. Drones circled the skies, and hidden bases around the world were prepared to defend the planet if necessary. Every system was armed but silent, waiting for one command: engage. Then, at exactly 0340 UTC, something changed. A new energy surge appeared in the readings. The largest alien ship started to move closer, entering the upper layers of the atmosphere. Its movement was slow but deliberate. It wasn't drifting, it was descending. The room filled with alarm sounds and hurried voices. Earth's defense network came alive in seconds. Satellites repositioned, targeting systems locked, and every radar on the planet turned toward the ship. The ship's size was unimaginable. It was bigger than any city, and it blocked the stars as it moved. Through telescopes, it looked like a floating mountain covered in silver veins of light. A beam extended from its base, scanning the clouds below. The readings showed that the ship was releasing a low-frequency signal that covered the entire planet. It wasn't an attack, but it was something humans couldn't understand. Across the control rooms, commands flew through the air like sparks. Hold position. Do not fire. Monitor movement. The Global Defense AI activated its shield sequence, creating a web of invisible protection around the planet. Millions of drones rose higher, forming a defensive line around Earth's edge. For the first time, humanity stood in full strength, not divided by countries but united as one race. The world was no longer small. It had become a fortress. As the ship descended lower, the clouds beneath it swirled and turned white from the energy waves. Lightning flashed around its surface, yet it wasn't weather. It was power. Cameras from space stations captured every second, transmitting the images to secret command rooms where world leaders watched in silence. The alien vessel seemed unstoppable. Then, without warning, one of the smaller alien ships broke away and rushed toward Earth's orbit. The defense grid reacted instantly. A swarm of drones intercepted it, surrounding it with electromagnetic traps. A flash of blue light filled the sky as the first defense strike hit. The alien craft tried to counter with its own shield, but the drones moved faster. Within seconds, the object burst into a bright explosion, scattering glowing fragments across the night sky. It was the first victory, small but powerful. Humanity had drawn its line and proved it could fight back. The people on the ground who saw the flash thought it was just a shooting star. They didn't know that far above, the first interstellar battle had begun. For the humans inside the command centers, that moment changed everything. The fear turned into focus. Every operator, scientist, and pilot felt a surge of determination. Earth wasn't helpless anymore. More alien ships started to move, changing their formation. They fired strange beams into the upper atmosphere, streams of energy that looked like lightning but carried data and signals. The defense system detected interference across global networks. Satellites began to flicker. It was clear. The visitors were trying to blind Earth's eyes. Within minutes, the human fleets responded. Orbital drones switched to manual control. From bases hidden beneath oceans and mountains, wave after wave of drones launched into the sky, creating a glowing shield around the planet. The view from space looked like something out of a dream. Thousands of tiny lights rising from Earth, forming a net of defense that stretched across the horizon. When the alien ships pushed forward, the sky turned into a storm of light. The drones released bursts of plasma energy, and for the first time, the alien fleet fired back. The explosions were silent in the vacuum of space, but their light could be seen even from Earth's surface. People in cities thought it was a meteor shower, but those who knew the truth watched with heavy hearts. Humanity was fighting for survival. Despite the chaos, there was order in the human resistance. Each region controlled its drones and satellites with precision. Scientists guided pilots through encrypted channels, giving them real-time data about energy readings and ship movements. Everyone worked together as if connected by one purpose: to protect their planet. For hours, the sky burned with flashes of light. Several alien crafts were destroyed, breaking apart like glass. The human fleet, though smaller and less advanced, fought with everything it had. Every person behind a console or a control stick knew what was at stake. There was no retreat. Then something unexpected happened. The largest alien ship stopped attacking. Instead, it released a new signal, louder, stronger, and filled with strange symbols. The human sensors translated the pattern into something visual, a series of rotating shapes that looked almost like language. It wasn't random. The ship was trying to say something. The scientists worked quickly to decode it. After hours of effort, they began to see meaning in the pattern. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't a threat. It was confusion. The message read like disbelief. This planet should not have this power. That single sentence stunned everyone in the command center. The aliens had underestimated humanity. In their records, humans were still considered a young species, barely capable of leaving their homeworld. They thought Earth would be easy to breach, unprotected, primitive. They were wrong. While the message spread through command centers around the world, the defense teams prepared for one last confrontation. The alien fleet had started to pull back, but their main ship remained. Its energy levels were rising again, far stronger than before. It was charging something big, something that could destroy half the sky. The human commanders gave the final order. All units focus fire on the command vessel. Target the core. The global defense grid came alive one last time. Thousands of drones synchronized their movement perfectly, forming a spiral of light around the alien ship. In one massive surge, they fired together. The plasma waves collided with the ship's shield, breaking through layer by layer. Inside the command vessel, something began to overload. The glowing veins of light on its surface turned red, then white, and finally exploded in a silent burst that lit up space like a second sunrise. The explosion was so bright that people on Earth saw it with their bare eyes. In cities and villages, people stopped whatever they were doing and looked up. For a brief moment, night turned to day. The ocean reflected the light like liquid silver. Then the glow faded and the sky returned to darkness. The fleet was gone. Only fragments drifted silently, burning up as they fell into the atmosphere. Inside the defense centers, no one spoke. The screens were filled with static and the air felt heavy. They had won, but the cost was enormous. Many drones were lost, systems damaged, and satellites destroyed. Yet the most important thing remained untouched: Earth. When the data confirmed the enemy's retreat, quiet applause broke out. It wasn't the cheer of victory, it was relief, disbelief, and pride all at once. Humanity had faced something greater than itself and survived. Later that night, as the last fragments of the alien ship burned through the sky like falling stars, a message was sent across the world. Not to boast, not to threaten, but to remind. It read simply, "We held the line. The Earth stands." In homes, fields, and quiet streets, people looked up, not with fear anymore, but with hope. The stars no longer felt like distant strangers, they felt like witnesses. Humanity had been tested by the galaxy itself and proved one truth that echoed through the endless dark. The galaxy thought it could breach Earth's borders. The smoke from the last battle had not yet cleared when the world began to change again. After the explosion of the alien command ship, the skies stayed strange for days. Some said the light from the blast still floated above the clouds like a faint halo around Earth. Others believed the light was not just from destruction, it was something left behind, a trace of alien technology that had fused with the planet's upper atmosphere. No one could be sure. Across the world, people tried to return to normal life, but normal didn't exist anymore. Humanity had seen what lay beyond its skies. Every person now carried that memory. The giant ship that darkened the stars, the flash that turned night into day, and the thought that Earth had stood toe-to-toe with something unimaginable. In the control centers, the celebrations were short. Scientists and soldiers were exhausted, but their work wasn't over. The debris from the destroyed alien fleet was falling back toward Earth in pieces. Some fragments burned in the atmosphere, but others survived and crashed into oceans, deserts, and forests. The world's governments launched global recovery teams to collect and study them. Each recovered piece looked like metal, but wasn't. It was smooth, weightless, and cold, even under sunlight. When scientists tried to cut it open, it healed itself, as if alive. Some fragments emitted a soft hum, vibrating at frequencies no human-made instrument could measure. The alien technology was beyond comprehension, and for the first time in history, humans realized how small their understanding truly was. While the researchers studied the fragments, a new mystery began to unfold. Satellites that had survived the battle started to pick up weak energy signals from space, signals that seemed to come from the same location where the alien fleet had appeared. It was as if something out there was calling again, quietly, as though testing whether Earth would answer. Inside one of the main underground command stations, the atmosphere grew tense once more. Analysts gathered around the monitors as the strange pulses repeated. The signals were rhythmic, almost musical, like a heartbeat. Every 23 minutes they repeated in perfect intervals. Some believed it was just a leftover echo from the destroyed fleet, but others were not so sure. Then, after days of silence, one signal changed. It became longer and sharper, carrying a clear pattern. When translated into visual data, it formed a recognizable sequence, a spiral shape, the same pattern found on one of the alien ship's hulls. Humanity realized what it meant. The message wasn't random, it was a call. The alien civilization had learned that Earth was not defenseless. They were regrouping. The world's leaders held emergency meetings that lasted for days. The question was simple yet terrifying. Should humanity answer, or should it prepare for another war? Some argued that communication could lead to peace. Others feared that any response would expose Earth's position again and invite another attack. Meanwhile, the people of Earth lived in a strange calm. The skies were quiet and life seemed to go on, but deep down everyone knew this peace was fragile. Families gathered around their radios and screens for updates, hoping never to see another light in the sky. Children played with models of drones, calling them guardians of the planet. Artists painted the battle in vivid colors, trying to capture both fear and beauty. Humanity was changing faster than ever. As the scientists continued studying the alien fragments, something unexpected happened. One fragment stored in a secure lab suddenly began to glow. It wasn't just light. It projected a faint image into the air like a hologram. The projection showed a series of star maps with glowing lines connecting them. It was a route. The same route the alien fleet had taken to reach Earth. The scientists were stunned. It was as if the fragment itself was trying to speak. Some believed it was a memory, a message left behind, perhaps by accident. Others feared it was a beacon calling its creators back. Either way, the message was clear. The galaxy had not forgotten Earth. The leaders of the world decided to act before another invasion could begin. They started what they called Project Horizon, a global effort to prepare Earth's first interstellar defense and exploration program. It was not about revenge. It was about readiness. The human race would no longer wait to be found. It would reach out into space on its own terms. Under Project Horizon, teams of engineers, scientists, and pilots from every nation worked together. They studied the alien fragments and reverse-engineered what they could. New materials were discovered, and technology advanced faster in months than it had in decades. Within a year, humanity built its first prototype for an interstellar defense ship, a massive vessel capable of flying beyond Earth's orbit and powered by hybrid alien-human energy. The ship was named Vanguard 1. It wasn't designed for war, but for protection and discovery. When it launched, millions of people across the world watched from their homes, cheering as it rose through the clouds. It was a symbol that Earth was no longer the small blue planet hiding in the dark. It was ready to meet the galaxy with courage. Still, behind the celebrations, unease remained. The signals from deep space had not stopped. In fact, they were growing stronger, spreading across different frequencies. Each pulse felt closer, sharper, as if something enormous was traveling back toward the solar system. The scientists estimated that whatever it would reach Earth in less than a year. This time, Earth would not be caught by surprise. The defense grids were rebuilt stronger, the fleets multiplied, and communication networks expanded. Even ordinary people trained for emergency response. Humanity had learned the hard way that peace was never guaranteed, but it could be protected. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the skies above the Pacific began to flicker again. The same strange lights appeared, faint at first, then brighter, spreading like cracks of silver in the twilight. The air turned cold and every sensor on the planet began to sound alerts. The alien presence had returned. However, this time, Earth was ready. The defense stations activated immediately, forming a massive shield grid around the planet. The fleet of drones, now faster and more advanced, rose from every continent in perfect formation. The Vanguard 1 stood at the front line, its engines glowing with blue fire. The alien fleet appeared again, larger than before, but they hesitated. Scans showed that their ships had slowed down near Earth's orbit, almost as if studying what they saw. Humanity's progress had surprised them once more. Where they expected weakness, they now found strength. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of firing, the aliens transmitted a message. It wasn't in sound or symbols, but through pure energy, a wave that touched every satellite and every radio on Earth. For a moment, all systems went silent and a strange voice, clear yet without words, echoed through the networks. It wasn't a threat. It was acknowledgement, a message of respect. The translation read, "We came to conquer. We found equals." The command rooms erupted with disbelief. The aliens had not come to destroy. They had come to understand who had defeated them. In their history, no other world had ever resisted their power. Humanity had done the impossible and earned a place among the stars. As the alien fleet turned away, their ships moved with graceful silence, fading into the distance until they vanished completely. The skies cleared once more. Earth had not just survived, it had been recognized. For the people watching from the ground, that night was unforgettable. The stars looked brighter, and for the first time in history, humans didn't feel small. They felt connected, to each other, to their planet, and to the universe beyond. In the final broadcast from Project Horizon, a single message was sent to the galaxy. It wasn't a warning or a boast. It was a promise. We are Earth. We seek peace, but we are not afraid. From that day, the stars were no longer symbols of mystery or fear. They became the next chapter in humanity's story, a story of courage, unity, and survival. The galaxy had tried to breach Earth's borders. It had failed. Now it knew. Humanity was not just another civilization in the dark. It was a force that could no longer be ignored. The night after the alien fleet disappeared, Earth was the quietest it had ever been. No one spoke much, even though the world had just witnessed something that would be remembered forever. People gathered outside their homes, staring up at the stars that once brought fear, but now glowed with new meaning. The air felt different, almost calm, like the planet itself was resting after a long battle. Across the oceans and cities, the lights of civilization burned gently again. Power grids had been repaired, communication networks restored, and ships returned to their bases. The tension that had once gripped humanity slowly began to ease, yet beneath that calm there was still a question that no one could ignore. What happens now? In the underground command centers, the same people who had defended the world were now trying to make sense of what had happened. Screens showed endless streams of data, recordings from satellites, and messages collected from the alien transmissions. The final message the aliens had sent, "We came to conquer. We found equals," echoed in every discussion. It wasn't just a sentence. It was history being rewritten. Humanity was no longer alone. Scientists worked day and night to analyze what remained from the alien technology. Some fragments still pulsed faintly with energy, and no one fully understood how they worked. A team discovered that the alien material had strange properties. It could bend light and even generate power from the air around it. It was as if the metal itself was alive, responding to its environment. Engineers and researchers began using the alien material to improve Earth's technology. Energy stations became more efficient, transportation systems evolved, and communication became faster than ever. Within months, humanity had entered a new age, not because of what it invented, but because of what it learned. The fight for survival had transformed into a race for understanding. But there were deeper changes, too. People started to see themselves differently. Borders mattered less, and countries worked together like never before. The fear of another invasion united everyone under one mission: to protect Earth, to explore space, and to never again be caught unprepared. A new organization was formed, the Earth Alliance, bringing together the brightest minds and the most skilled defenders from across the planet. The Vanguard 1 ship, which had led humanity's defense, was upgraded with the new hybrid technology. Its engines glowed brighter, and its hull shimmered with the alien material. The ship became a symbol of hope, a reminder that unity could create miracles. Its next mission was not defense, it was exploration. Humanity decided that if the galaxy was watching, then Earth would not hide. It would step forward proudly. Before the launch, there was a broadcast that reached every corner of the planet. A single message played across every device, from small radios in villages to giant screens in city centers. A calm voice spoke. "Years ago, we looked at the stars and wondered if anyone was out there. Now we know. The galaxy thought it could breach Earth's borders, but it learned that this small blue world stands strong. We do not seek war. We seek understanding. Our journey begins today, not to conquer the stars, but to share them." As the message ended, people everywhere cheered. For once, the world wasn't divided by fear. It was united by pride. The launch of Vanguard 1 was an event unlike any in history. Millions watched as the ship rose slowly into the sky, its engines leaving trails of blue light. The sound of its departure echoed across oceans and mountains. The ship carried not weapons but explorers, scientists, engineers, and pilots who would represent all of humanity beyond Earth. From orbit, the view of Earth was breathtaking. The planet looked peaceful and bright, wrapped in soft white clouds and oceans that shimmered like mirrors. The crew inside the ship stood silently for a long moment, just watching. It was the first time they truly understood how fragile their world was, and how worth protecting it would always be. As Vanguard 1 moved farther from Earth, the ship's sensors detected something unusual. Far beyond the moon, a small object floated, barely visible. It wasn't debris from the old battle. It was intact, perfectly still. When the crew approached, they saw what looked like a small sphere made of the same alien material. It emitted a soft glow, pulsing gently, almost like a heartbeat. The sphere wasn't dangerous. It didn't respond to scans or movement. When brought aboard, it simply floated quietly inside the containment chamber, its surface reflecting tiny images of stars. The scientists believed it was a message, a token left behind by the alien fleet. Perhaps it was their way of saying they were still watching, or maybe it was a sign of respect, an acknowledgement of peace. As the ship continued deeper into space, the crew transmitted a message back to Earth. "We found something. It's not a threat, it feels like a greeting." The discovery spread across the planet quickly, and people reacted with wonder instead of fear. Humanity had spent so long thinking of space as a battlefield, yet now it felt like a vast frontier waiting to be explored. The fear that once surrounded the unknown began to fade. Over the next few months, Earth began building more ships. Each one carried a piece of the new technology, designed for long-distance travel. The dream of reaching other stars was no longer impossible, it was happening. Schools taught children about the day humanity defended its home and the lessons it learned about courage and unity. Streets were filled with murals of the glowing sky from that fateful night. It became part of culture, part of identity. Yet while the world celebrated, those who worked in the deepest parts of the command centers still kept watch. The signals from space hadn't completely stopped. Every few weeks, faint pulses appeared in the data. They weren't threatening, but they reminded everyone that the universe was still alive, still listening. One evening, as the sun set over the Pacific, the sky filled with a strange light again. It wasn't an invasion or a weapon, just a soft ribbon of color that spread across the atmosphere like a wave. Scientists confirmed it was harmless energy, likely a remnant from the alien technology still floating in orbit. But for people on the ground, it felt like something else. It felt like the galaxy itself was saying goodbye. Or maybe until next time. Families gathered outside to watch. Children pointed and laughed. Elders whispered prayers. Everyone felt connected in that quiet moment. Humanity had come a long way, from fear to courage, from war to understanding. As night fell, the glowing lights slowly faded, and the stars shone brighter than ever before. The constellations looked familiar yet different, as if they carried a new meaning now. The people of Earth had faced the unknown and survived. They had turned darkness into discovery. In one of the final transmissions from Vanguard 1, the captain's voice came through softly. If they ever come again, they won't find the same Earth. They'll find a world that learned to fight for peace, a world that knows its strength, and a world ready to meet them not as enemies but as equals. The message was broadcast to every corner of the world. People listened quietly, knowing those words would become part of history. Years later, humanity would look back on that time as the moment everything changed. The night when Earth stopped being just a planet and became something more, a symbol of resilience, of unity, of hope. The galaxy had once believed Earth could be easily broken, that humans were just another fragile species in a vast universe. But it learned the truth in the brightest, loudest way possible. Humanity had stood together and defended its home, not with hatred but with courage. And in doing so, it sent a message that would echo across the stars for generations. We are Earth. We do not bow. We stand. That was the end of the war, but the beginning of something far greater. The stars were no longer unreachable. They were waiting. And this time, humanity was ready to meet them,